Hey, stop. Don't borrow from that loan app yet. You see, these loan apps are actually loan sharks, many of them, not all anyway, and they have ruined many Nigerians. People have died because of them. People have suffered untold hardships because of them. And there is no reason to assume that you will not be part of those people. Okay, so don't add to the numbers. There are at least 3 reasons I know that you should hesitate to borrow from these loan sharks that disguise as loan apps. But before I tell you all the 3, please help me grow this channel by subscribing to this channel and hit that bell button so that every time I come up with a content like this, you get notified by YouTube. Know this. There is nothing soft about the so-called soft loan that these loan sharks are promising you. I know that it could be very tempting to have the opportunity to borrow money without collateral, if you know what I'm talking about, and they come under different names, very, very juicy names: easy this, fast this, fair this, link this, and so on and so forth. You know what the names are. These names promise you something that is out of the ordinary. They make it look like, okay, you have found the perfect answer or perfect solution to your financial crisis, but hey, at what cost? Okay, so let's talk about the reasons you should not borrow from these loan sharks if you can really avoid it. And I'll start with the first one. The first reason you should not borrow from these loan sharks is the interest rate, and of course that comes along with a very short repayment period. They give you these loans at not less than 30%, and you are meant to pay back in 7 days. Now this is the problem. Picture this scenario. You go to them basically because you are in trouble and you really can't find a way out. Where on earth will you get the money back from in 7 days together with the interest? I tell you, these loans are not structured to make your life easier. As a matter of fact, they are structured to make your life harder. You are never going to be able to pay back these loans together with the interest at such a short notice. No, it is killing. Where will you see it? The guy is probably broke. He needs 20,000 naira to feed himself. And if you borrow 20,000 naira from some apps and they put a margin of 30% on it, you are paying back 26,000 naira in 7 days. And it's not as if there is any magic that you will pull anywhere. You're just hoping that maybe somehow somebody will come around and give you that money. It doesn't work that way, and that compounds your problem. So the number 1 reason is that the interest rate is killing and the repayment period is so short, you are never going to be able to do it successfully except there is some kind of divine intervention. That is the first reason you should not borrow from these loan sharks. The second reason you should not borrow from these loan apps is the loan recovery process. Man, this is killing. Let's not forget the fact that you have just 7 days to repay this loan. By 2 days to the day you are meant to pay back the loan, okay, you start getting some kind of messages that are more like courtesy visits or courtesy messages, if I can say it that way. You get messages like your loan will be due for repayment on so date, try to pay so that this cannot happen, blah 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 blah. Now on the D-Day, that is when the real issue starts. As early as 7 a.m. your phone keeps ringing. They bombard you with calls upon calls from different numbers. As you are dropping this call, another one is coming. It seems like they have like 5 or 6 or 7 recovery agents, targeting you at the same time. All of them reaching out to you via SMS, via WhatsApp messages, via direct calls, and what have you. By 9 a.m. on the day you are meant to pay back, or let's say by 10 a.m., you start getting messages like, don't be unfortunate, pay now. You start getting threats. In the literal sense of the word, threats in messages, not just on calls. Messages like, if you don't want your family to be unfortunate, if you don't want your family to cry over you this year, pay now. That is by 10 a.m. It is still the day of repayment. So if by 12 p.m. you have not paid, then you start getting messages like, we will spare no effort at shaming you today. We will do everything possible in our capacity to disgrace you. You will lose your family will cry over you. You will get a whole lot of threats on your phone via all the mediums. Let's not forget that they have access to your database, okay? And if by COB that day you have not been able to pay, then they start reaching out to your contacts. As a matter of fact, they will probably have called some of them on the phone asking them to tell you to pay. And if by the evening of that same day of repayment you have still not been able to pay, then they will start sending messages out to your contact that you are a fraudster. That should be avoided. Yes, your family members will get it, your friends will get it, your colleagues will get it, your potential employer or your employer will get the messages that you are a fraudster and you have run away with their money and this and that and that and that. By the following day, things will get so messy for you. Then they begin to, send your picture out and WhatsApp messages. There was a day I got a message from one of the apps. They put a picture of somebody I know there and the message that he has some kind of contagious illness and it should be avoided. And after a while, they will send me the obituary of the guy, that this guy is dead and blah blah blah. And I really can't imagine that measure of inhumanity that man does to another. Yeah, I know they say that Nigerians have bad repayment habits. They say that Nigerians are bad debtors and they, even when they have the money, they won't pay. But in the first place, did you do your due diligence before you lent this money out to these people? You have access to his BVN. As a matter of fact, many of the defaulters are actually owing loans on other platforms, yet you still went ahead to loan that money to him. Where do you think that guy will get the money from? And so they start harassing you, they start sending messages to your contacts, and before you know it, people have lost their jobs because of this. Marriages have crashed because of this. As a matter of fact, some people have committed suicide, taking their own lives because of threats like this. And I ask you, is this worth taking in the first place? So we have to think about it. So that is the second reason. The loan recovery process is very unethical. Not all of them, but many of them, because they are just money means roads. They have probably some contacts in China, in the US, that have some hard currency, that, the weakness of the currency of Naira makes them feel like they have a lot of money and they come down here to milk you, essentially. That is what they do. The third reason you should not borrow from these loan sharks is the data breaches. Let's not forget that at the point of borrowing, you filled in a lot of things about yourself, your BVN, your NIN, and what have you. And, they seem to syndicate this data against your consent. No matter what NIDA is saying, they all have your data. Because if you even end up paying, if you pay on time, and this is where it gets funny. If you pay on time, okay, other loan apps start contacting you. Yes, there seems to be a central data server that all of them plug into, or it looks more like the app you just paid sends signals to others that you say, "Manga don't pay, you go and milk him also." So they come after you, they swam you. You start getting messages patronizing you to come and borrow money. And I keep asking, how on earth did they get to have my number in the first place? And how on earth did they get to know that I actually might be in need of borrowing? This is not some kind of random bulk SMS message, because the messages will come from the apps. The messages will come from loaning apps. So it's not just some kind of random company sending random messages to random people. They have a data source that they are pulling your data from, which is actually unethical, because you are meant to be contacted. There is meant to be permission for anybody to access your financial data. So there is serious data breach when you trade with these loan sharks that call themselves loan apps. So if you look at these three reasons, you will actually ask yourself whether it is actually worth the risk in the first place. Now the question is this: what do you do when you find yourself in a serious financial crisis and you must get money by all means? The first thing you do is talk to other people apart from these loan sharks. Yes, many of us always hide our problems. We want to form big boy. Hey, when you are in need, please don't form big boy. Talk to people. They say problem shared is problem solved. Maybe not completely solved, but to an extent. If you talk to enough people, you may get lucky. Somebody might listen to you. Somebody might be in a position to help you. I know what you're thinking. Neighbors will always taunt you. Families will say maybe you are reckless with your spending and so on and so forth. But then not everybody will turn against you. Some still have the heart of gold and they can still rise to your need. But we want to, cover up our shame, quote unquote, only to be exposed on bigger shameful things later when you borrow money from these loan sharks and you are unable to repay. So the first thing is talk to people, talk to enough people, and at some point somebody might actually come to your rescue. Secondly, look inward, look at your house. What are those gadgets that you have that you are not actually using? Many of us, our homes are like, museum parks. We have relics and mementos of things that have happened in the past. We say we are keeping memories. There is that particular stereo player that you need to dispose, that you have not used for quite a number of years. There is that microwave that you really don't need at this point in your life. Dispose some of them. Yeah, they may say, I don't know, there seems to be this culture in our land that when you dispose your gadgets, you are being unfortunate. No, if you have not touched something for the past 2 years, I don't really think you need it, because it's not meant for keeps, it's meant for use. So look inward, look at the things you can sell out of what you're not using, or old things that you think, okay, their usage is actually overrated at this point in time. Maybe you'll be able to raise some fund here and there. And if that doesn't work, then make an attempt to talk to proper microfinance banks. Yes, this is not a sponsored video, but I know that a platform like Fair Money is actually fair in its dealing. Yes, I've actually traded with them at some point. You will reach out to them and tell them what you need, and they will evaluate your creditworthiness and so on and so forth. Yeah, the process might be slower and a bit cumbersome, but it is worth the wait, because they try to play within the rules as provided by the central bank. Okay, now if this does not work and it's a must for you, I mean, if everything else does not work and you still feel you need to borrow from these loan sharks, then ensure that you have the plan, a very solid plan of repayment. Otherwise, you will face the consequences, and trust me, these consequences are better imagined. People have died in the process, and we don't want you to add to that number, and that's the reason I am doing this video. So you have before you reasons not to patronize these loan sharks, and you should look elsewhere if you are in financial crisis. And that's the video for today. Thank you for watching. Please help me grow this channel by subscribing to it. It's a small channel, but with you we can make it grow. And of course, hit that bell button so that every time I create more content like this, you are able to get notified by YouTube. And of course, in the comment section, please drop your comments. What has been your experience in the hands of these loan sharks? Everybody has issues, even the richest have issues. Okay, to borrow is not really a problem. It's not really a crime. It's not a crime to borrow, but to borrow and not to pay back is what makes you a bad person. The rich borrow. There is nobody that does any meaningful business without borrowing something substantial. You ask those who have money. Nobody has it all. As a matter of fact, there is a school of thought that says you should use OPM, other people's money. But when you borrow ethically and be ready to repay, except of course you are in a position that you are not really able to repay. I've been there before, but then I went out of it, or I got out of it by the grace of God and by sheer discipline, and you too will get out of it. I'll see you next content. Bye bye.